Senator Chuck Grassley right now, the Iowa senator, joining us to talk about a whole bunch of things. First off, if you don't mind, Senator, on what you want to hear out of the president. He's going to be addressing crime and how to get a handle on it. But the focus seems to be more on guns. What do you think of that?
Well, you know, when a policeman shoots somebody and it's a national tragedy, the policeman is responsible for the killing. But when an individual kills another person, then the gun is responsible for it. So we got to get over this business that the gun does the killing. People kill. So we've got to have tough laws on the use of guns and the misuse of guns, but not to violate the Second Amendment of the United States. That's what I want to hear. Another thing, though, I'd like to hear from the president is how come Garland hasn't answered my letters in which I'm inquiring why they're prosecuting 455 people that broke into the Capitol on January the 6th, and they should be prosecuted, but that a whole bunch of people that were dealing with the federal building in Portland, a lot of those people in Portland are getting let go free. And I just think that there's a double standard for justice in the United States. Some people are going to be prosecuted that it may be politically wise to prosecute, and then other people may not be prosecuted because it might upset some people on the left.
It's a very good point. You're talking about the Attorney General, Merrick Garland. A lot of those charges in that particular case were virtually dropped for everybody. But I'd like to pivot, if I can, Senator, to ongoing infrastructure talks. Where does this thing stand? Apparently, the issue now is how to pay for it. It seems Republicans and now the administration against a gas tax, against a mileage tax, so that takes away at least a big chunk of the way you could pay for it. So where are we?
Well, it's so contrary to the way since the 1950s when the big increase in gas tax was put in to build the superhighways. We've always had user pay, and there's various ways of doing that. You can put a tax on electric vehicles, you can put a mileage tax on, you can put gas tax increase on. They don't want any of that because they dug themselves into a hole during the campaign by saying we aren't going to raise taxes on anybody under $400,000 a year income. Well, what does that mean? You're going to tax the 1% of the people in this country that make more than that and have them finance all of the infrastructure of the United States? It doesn't work out. Now, I think an easy solution is repurposing some of the money that's been appropriated under the COVID bills and not used, and some of it goes back to last year that still isn't used, and there's a lot in this year. But it's okay to appropriate money for 1 or 2 years, but the COVID bills appropriated money in some cases out to the year 2028. Are you saying that we're going to need COVID relief until 2028? Nobody's planning to do that, and there's plenty of time to take care of it if you need it. So repurpose some of that money for infrastructure.
Senator, time is wasted, and you always remind me that the calendar sometimes moves you and your colleagues more than anything else. But is it fair to say that if a deal isn't hammered out before the August recess, there's not going to be a deal at all?
I'm going to give you a general answer to that. My rule is that a new president gets in office, and if he doesn't get his program done before Labor Day of his first year in office, he's not going to get much of it done. And so that would apply to the infrastructure, but it would apply to some other things as well.
Inflation is a big issue. A lot of people are concerned about it. The Fed chairman seems to think it's going to pass. It won't be around a while. Are you of that view?
Well, even the Fed has changed their mind on that. Last March, they said inflation this year was not going to get higher than 2.4. They've already raised that to 3.4. and we know that real inflation for the month of May was 6%. So this is out of control. We're going to be back in the 1970s with inflation of 12 and 13% if we don't do something about it. And Congress has a lot to do about it by not spending $6 trillion more that this president wants to spend. That'd be the fiscal policy to get inflation under control. But the Fed's got to quit buying up all these mortgage bonds and all of this national debt. They're financing 60% of our national debt. That's a bad policy. And they need to start gradually going down, doing less of that, and they need to start raising interest rates.
Sir, we might be interrupted by the president, who will belatedly get and address the nation on this crime plan, but I couldn't leave without you sharing your thoughts on Kamala Harris going to the border on Friday to El Paso, along with the Homeland Security Secretary. What do you think of that?
Well, I haven't heard that news, so you're giving me news she's going to the border Friday. I think it's about time. It's about 6 months late.
All right.